All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Jordan, would you like to kick it off today?
Sure. I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm wondering if I'm wearing the same outfit. No, I'm not. That's black. Um, I'm Jordan. Nice to see all of you guys. I'm here in Colorado and I run a team here in the Denver market. And Siri and I have similar visions and mindsets around scale, leverage, and making agents' lives easier by growing systems and processes around agents to make them win at a bigger level. And so we combined forces and just started masterminding and wanted to share it with everybody else. But yeah, I've been doing this for 6 years, and we just achieved top team in Denver this past year, according to the Realtor Association. And so we're doing something right, but I still have lots of problems and need to learn from many of you, which is why I've partnered with Siri. So but that's us.
That's us. All right. I'm going to let you have the spotlight today. All right. And today, let's talk about the man and the woman who's here as our guest. So we've got Joe, Oz, and Lauren, and you guys are here tell us a little bit about you and what you're going to talk to us about today.
That's awesome. I'm Joe. I'm Joe Oz. This is Lauren. I run the Oz group, and Lauren kind of like really runs the Oz group, right? But like I get all right. But like yeah, what are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about teams, something I'm passionate about. I believe that the teamerage thing is becoming more and more real. And I think that you're either going in the future of real estate, you're either going to run a team like Lauren does and I do. And by the way, I think running a team is like, it takes a lot of people to run a team. Like it's not like one mega agent who's like selling a bunch of houses and has people closing out deals under their name. I don't think that's the future. I think the future is like running a team as a brokerage, and you're either going to run a team or you're going to be on one, and that's awesome. Like either way is totally cool. And I'm just passionate about the stuff. And I worked at brokerages for years. I ran brokerages, I owned brokerages, and we didn't really focus on the agent and bringing value, right? And so I think we're going to kind of talk about our onboarding a little bit and like where we've been. I guess who we are. We operate in New Jersey at the Jersey Shore. So if you just look at the middle of New Jersey, all the way at the beach, that's where we are. We handle pretty much the entire coastline. If the water touches it, we can kind of help you guys there. And I guess notably, our transactions are down in this market, especially in the Northeast, because we didn't build any houses. Our transaction count has doubled since year to date from over last year. And I live in Orange County, California, so I run this thing remote, which is also people find kind of interesting. Lauren, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Lauren Martin, Director of Operations for the Oz Group. I am in New Jersey. I see water from my house, so that's a good thing. And I've been with the Oz Group for about 2 years. And the last year, we really took our onboarding to another level to be able to grow our team from just 5 agents being on a group text message and getting things done to 50 and having to build out several systems and helping our agents move fast and letting them know that they have the support and the systems built out for them so they can be successful. So I'll be here backing up Joe.
All right. Well, that's a good intro. Joe, you and I met just last year. And like I said earlier, for some that weren't on the meeting earlier, I walked right up to you and I was like, I like this guy. Like, he's my kind of people. I like this guy. And I'm, like I said, so excited that you're here. You also have a similar story of growth, because we also went from like 25-ish to now 90-ish people in about a year's period of time. And so, Lauren, I know exactly what you're talking about trying to scramble and kind of get all those things in place. I know going from like an iMessage thread to now we're on Slack, right? Because you got to put everybody together. So when Joe asked me what he should talk about, I was like, well, of course, onboarding, right? Because I think that's where it all starts. And so I'm really excited to learn from you guys about what you did. And just wanted to let everybody know too, reminder, it's mastermind, so you guys can chat, you can just raise your hand, you can start talking, like ask questions along the way, because we're going to have some questions too. And then Joe, likewise, and Lauren, if there's anything that we can help you guys with, then we'll help you with some of the stuff we're doing too.
Thank you.
So yeah. So with that, what are we learning today? What are you going to show us?
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think I'll just kind of talk about what we do for onboarding. Would that be helpful? Right. I'll just talk about what we do for onboarding and we'll go from there. I think I'm going to lean, it sounds like the operational part of things might be helpful to people, which is where Lauren really comes in. And so we've grown significantly. We're a Zillow Flex team, right? And so what that's really been, we've done well with the Zillow Flex program, and where we are located, there are Zillow Flex teams, but none of them are really operating at a very, very high level. We're converting over 200% for like the last, like since November, we hit like 6 months, 200% to market, which means we're basically closing double the amount of deals that like a market-based pricing agent would close.
Congrats.
And
That's awesome.
thank you. So when that happens, we, it's a lot, that's a whole nother training. It's like a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
like dying, like, yeah, I did it. I'm dying. It's like the name of the dog on fire, like everything's fine. But like, that's where we need help, production managers, right? But anyway, so with that is the catalyst that helped us recruit, right? Because agents are not, we're interviewing a lot of agents and they're not interviewing brokerages, they're interviewing teams, right? And so we ask them, we say like, hey, what are you, because we want to know like, hey, well, we know how they found us. A lot of them are finding us on Indeed, right? Which a huge aha for me is, if they're on Indeed, they're looking for a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a job, there's like a training. Like if you go work at UPS, there's like a training, there's like I did like a box packing situation, right? Like in college, and they're like, all right, cool, sit in this room for 4 hours. This is what you're gonna do. And I'm like, all right. It's like, and that was the training. Like they had one on, no matter what level you start at, there's like a training and there's like an onboarding if you work at like a real company. And when I worked at the company with the balloon, and when I worked at the company with like the red colors, you know, like there was none of that, right? Like there really wasn't. There was like a production manager. It was like, oh, hey, Mary, like might let you shadow her if you give her 25%, or you can call her sometimes. And it was like shocking to me, man. It was like, wow, really? And like at the company with the red letters, there'd be like 10 productivity coaches, and one of them was like good. And like one of them was like passionate about helping other people and had a servant leader's heart. And I would think if like, dang, if a new agent gets Mary, that's not her name, but if it got Mary, that agent is really, really lucky. That's going to change their entire trajectory of their career and their life and their family's life. And damn, if they do really, really well, they might wind up like Siri here and be a leader and help a lot of people, right? Like, and that's cool. And that's what's possible. And so, but the other production, whatever they're called, productivity coaches, they just like wanted to make some money off of like some new agent, like make a chunk out of someone else's deals or something. And they probably weren't doing a lot of business. And it's true, I'm like the whistleblower of like the lazy agent and the whatever, the person doesn't think big. And my drive is pretty wild sometimes, and I just kind of, from New Jersey, so I say it how it is. So what we found is these agents are coming in, man, and I ask them like, what brokerages are you interviewing? They're like, oh, I don't know. I'm just going to teams. Like these agents didn't really they didn't even know what they don't care about a brokerage. They like, I'm interviewing at this team, this team, this team, and this team. And so I know those teams that are around us, and I know who they are. And then what happens is it becomes, and back to the Indeed thing, like when they're applying for a job, there's a huge aha for anyone running a team, or it's a huge aha for me. I'd love to hear if it's a huge aha for you. There are these people who did well in sales, right? They sold cell phones, or they sold gym memberships, or they were great servers or bartenders. And that makes for a really, really great salesperson. But a lot of them come into the business thinking that they're entrepreneurs. And they're not. And I've done a lot of work on myself to become a leader. Like I'm not a natural leader. It's very hard. I work on myself daily because of this. I make mistakes. And what's happening is I think a lot of them are realizing like, hey man, I just want to come in and do a job, and I want to work in real estate. And what's happening is with these channel partner connections and things like that, like Uber, like what we realized was in COVID, there were like these, what are they called? Gig economy, like Uber drivers and like Grubhubs and DoorDashes and Instacarts. There's people doing that. And like ultimately, like if you can partner with a channel partner like a Zillow Flex, and you can partner with like OpCity, like Veterans Unite, there's so many different ways to do this. That's basically what it is. But instead of delivering food, you're like going to help people buy a house, right? And it's a really, really great opportunity. So these people come in and they're looking for a job, right? They're not entrepreneurs. They're not. They think they are sometimes, but they're not. And if they're looking for a job, they want to be trained, right? They want to be trained, they want to be onboarded, and they want to have a system. And where we have won is we have a plan. And it's almost easy, right? Like it's like when I used to go on listing appointments, I would say, hey, please interview with 2 other realtors, please, because I have a plan. And here it is. I'm going to show it to you. And then after you meet with everyone, make whoever had the best plan, right? And whoever like gave you references and all these things, right? And I would get a lot of listings because I would do this. I had a plan. And so now it's the same thing when we interview with agents. We say, hey, I think the 2 things that they really, really love is that 1, I'm not in production. Neither's Lauren, neither's my business partner. Like we're not in production. And what we've learned is a lot of them, they join these teams and it's just a mega agent and it's all about them. There's just so much ego. And it's like Louis Vuitton bags and Teslas and custom suits. And by the way, I was that person too. If you Google me like 6 years ago or something, like I was definitely, there was some ego and some insecurity there. But like, it was all about me. Like I didn't like the agents, like, yeah, they could come and go because I'm going to be okay. Right. And then we switched to this thing. Last year, we switched our comp. We got more competitive with comp. We switched just how we did everything to accommodate the agent, and it wasn't about us. So, there's that saying, if you help other people get what they want, you don't have to worry about getting what you want.
So your story is like so similar to mine, because even my name was in our group, and not that your name shouldn't be in there, Joe, don't get me wrong or anything, but like we even took the name out because we were like, it's not about me. Light's not on me. It's all about you. And what can we do for you? Right? What can we do to help you, agents?
Yeah, totally. And I think, and the biggest part was, it was 1, I'm not in production. Number 2, we had an onboarding, which was, shout out, it was Cristiano taught it to us. It's what he used over at eHomes. And like, he showed me what he did. He was super nice. And we became buds, and he kind of took me through what he did, and then we kind of made it our own. And what it really looks like is for onboarding, I'll break it down and then I'll kind of answer any questions. We don't it's a 5-day onboarding. It's in a corporate style training in a classroom environment. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It happens from Monday through Friday in New Jersey. And day 1 is culture. It's like a big group hug. We let them know on the first day who we are. Like, this is who we are. Like, if you're dating someone, like, yo, if my jaw clicks when I chew, if I snore in my sleep, if I sleepwalk, whatever, like, you're going to find everything out on day 1. And if it's not what you thought you were signing up for, we'd like for you to not come back on day 2. That has never happened, but probably because we've really worked on our screening and who we're bringing in. It's a whole nother training. All the people we brought in that like exited like 30 days later or whatever. All the bad hires, right? So day 1's culture, who we are. We talk about our mission statement, our vision, where our leads come from, what we do, things like that. We go deep into like where we were, where we are, where we're going. Excuse me. My business partner, we talk a lot about real estate 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Real estate 1.0 is like, we're not there anymore. That was like all the listings are in a binder. You know what I mean? The keys are hanging on the back wall. Everything's like an office exclusive. 2.0 is where the company with the red letters did really well. Like 1, right? That was like the height of the mega teams. That's like the team leader with the like, I go get a lot of listings and you take out the buyers that I don't want. And like the problem with the real 2.0 is, with the mega team leader, the team doesn't exist without mega team leader. They make everything happen, and there's a ceiling, and there's only so much you can do, right? What we're operating is, if Joe gets hit by a bus, Lauren's like, okay, the funeral's at 6, but tomorrow we're going to get right? That's the difference. And that's truly what a business is, right? And so people think, if you ask a realtor on the street, be like, hey, do you have a business? They're gonna be like, yeah. It's like, no, you don't, dude. Like, if you died, it's over. Like, you don't have a business. And then so real estate 3.0 is pretty much what we're operating here. We break that whole thing down. And if they get it, they're one of us. If you're like, I don't know, man, if you're like, my face needs to be on the yard sign, you're gone, dude. Like, you don't get it. Like, you don't understand the power of the team and the value and all that. And you don't belong with us. Sorry. I love you. And by the way, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. That's okay, everybody. Like, it's like food. Like, if you try a piece of sushi and you don't love it, you don't like get mad at the sushi and like talk shit about it to your friends, right? You're like, that piece of uni was so gnarly. That's what we do. We're like, if that person's not a fit, we're like, oh yeah, they didn't want to do, but it doesn't matter. Stop. They're just not a fit. It's okay. How many people did you date before you met your partner? Right? That's it. So then that's day one. Day two, we introduce Zillow Flex and channel partners because we primarily do channel partner deals, right? That's what we primarily do. And so if it's like, whatever, if it doesn't work, doesn't work. Then day 2 and 3 are just high sales acumen. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you through, you're going to get all these phone calls, like everything from how many calls are you going to take per day, per week? What does this look like? When the phone rings, what am I going to say? How am I going to set the appointment? What are the most common rebuttals? What do I do when I hang up the phone? We're going to like text them. We're going to send them a calendar invite. Like, we go over all that. We have a system for everything and we just break it all down. And then day 3 is, what do we say? We set the appointment. Like, what do we say when we meet them at the house? What do we say when we walk up to the front door? What do we say when we were done? How do we future pace for the next appointment? We go through all of those things. And then Thursday is operations, right? It's like operations. And like, I'd love to like pass the torch here to Lauren for Thursday and Friday. Thursday is all of our like, we're cloud-based. Like, we don't have an office. We work like, we do like one in-person office meeting per month, but it's like a banger. There's like awards, there's like, it's catered, there's like all that stuff. And then we do like call nights and client events and things like that. And then Friday we do like a happy hour. We bring in our allied resources, but I'm going to let Lauren talk about Thursday and Friday.
Oh, Joe, we're like the same. It's so funny, the stuff you're saying,
weird.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Liv,
When I met you, I think to Chris, I was like, that person's just like me. I'm like, that's crazy.
I know, Lauren or Liv, are you thinking about what he's saying? I'm like, well, that's what we do. Our onboarding's a little different. Our onboarding's a little different. Yes.
Yeah, our onboarding has changed, and like 7 times probably. We keep changing it and trying different things. We've done the condensed version and the 2-week version and the 30. I mean, Gary's on here. I'd let Gary speak to that, but yeah, no, I'm excited to hear more about.
But that's what you have to do, right? Like, where we're at, the world's changing like crazy. Everything is changing. Everyone's freaking out. In case you guys didn't notice, outside your door, everybody's freaking out. Like, my business partner last night talking to me about Ray Dalio and Bitcoin going to 1 million and banks failing, and like, everyone's going nuts, right? And so, but guess what? You have to too, man. Your job as a leader is to like, you're in a dark alley right now and you need to like sneak out and like look around the corner and make sure everything's cool and tell your team to follow you, right? Like, you have to be constantly breaking the shit and you have to communicate it, right? Like, hey guys, I'm going to break the shit and I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And this is for your benefit. And the faster we break it, like, we're going to win, because no one else, you have 90 agents, right? Like, that's 90 like chances to communicate about the market and experiences and like what's working and what's not working. And when you guys all collaborate, the lone agent at the balloon company who's like waiting for the phone to ring, they're smoked, man. Like, they're so smoked and they don't even know they're smoked, right? Pass the mic to Lauren. I'm gonna mute myself now.
Lauren, Thursday and Friday, what do we do?
We just hang out and eat pizza.
We just hang out. Yeah.
Just get to know each other. So day 4 and 5 are very important. We go over all our systems and accountability. So day 4, we kind of dive into all of our systems, but not too deep where they're feeling overwhelmed. So the first thing we start off is like, who do you go to and where do you go to first? If you have a problem with A, where are you going? Because I'm trying to protect Joe and myself from our Slack notifications going off all day with simple questions of, how do I fill out a listing agreement, right? So we talk about where they should be going, and usually that's to our university. So we have our university set up in Kajabi. I know there's other ones out there. We love Kajabi, and we are constantly adding to it every week. But this has everything. So as Joe has taught me and taught the team, if we have to tell them more than once, we probably should record it or jot down the system so we don't have to do it over and over again. So a lot of the trainings that we've done have been recorded. I've had agents or myself or Joe screen share and record how to fill out an offer, how to fill out a listing agreement, and all that's in there for our agents. So we do a dive into the university because I want the agents really to go there first, because I don't want them asking Joe and I every time they onboard, how do I fill out an offer? So we go over the university, show them where they can find things about our brokerage, about our team, general information, FAQs, all of that. We also spend a lot of time on Slack. I love Slack. I could talk about them all day, every day, and why I love them. It's the best way for all of us to communicate, be on the same page without my phone going off every 2 seconds with a phone call, a text message, trying to go through an email thread. Does anyone use Slack or have Slack? I'm seeing head
We
shaking.
have
Okay.
Slack.
Yeah. It's not just for the real estate world either. I used to run a restaurant, and we used it for that as well. Just so everyone's on the same page. So we have different Slack channels. So we dive deep into Slack because it's a huge part of how we move so fast and we stay organized and things don't slip through the crack. So we talk about the different channels. What do we use it for? How to reply in a thread. If I throw an emoji thread on you, that means you didn't reply in the thread and you're in trouble. How to set reminders, how to mark it on red. We love Slack. So we dive deep because I need to get their buy-in on it, because I need them to check Slack, right? We can give them all these systems, right? The university, Slack, a CRM, but if we can't get their buy-in, they're never going to use it. So I try to show the benefits of, like, look, we have a Slack channel called Do You Know This Agent? And part of the offer submission checklist that they get during day 2 and 3 is drop a screenshot of the listing agent you're submitting an offer with and say, do you know this agent? And then you have, I don't know, over 40 people in the Slack channel to either hit it with an X emoji or, oh my God, I know them, let me call on your behalf, right? Because you never know, it's such a small world, who knows somebody. They're like, oh wow, it's so cool. Especially when we have our onboarding. And I love it when it's a mix of someone who just got their license and then someone that was on a team before, because listening to the agent that's been on a team before, oh my God, that's so great. Oh my God, you guys do that. Because then it also helps me sell it to the new agent on why we need to do these things and get their buy-in. So we do spend a lot of time on Slack. I would do 2 days on it if I could. We go over our e-signature platform. We use .loop. So I do a quick training because, again, that's something that's really important for them. I don't want them to write their first offer and log into .loop on a Saturday night for the first time writing their first offer. I would be nervous. So we do it together. So I give them a fake offer. They get a homework assignment. They fill it out. And then we go over it together as a group. We have it on the big screen and make sure they fill it out correctly. That way they're not as nervous for that first offer that they write. We talk about additional resources. So besides our university, we have a YouTube channel. So every Thursday, Joe hosts our Thursday training. It's open to everybody. So if you want to invite, let me know. And we record them and then we save them to the university. So that way Joe doesn't have to do it every single week on the same topic. We have it recorded. You can go to our YouTube channel to check it out. We go over, we're with EXP and they have a ton of resources. They have their own set of courses in their university. So we talk about all the additional resources there that we have through our brokerage. I talked to them about time blocking. They never do that part, but I try to express. It's really hard to get agents to time block. It's the hardest thing because they're running around. I get it, but I try to get their buy-in for time blocking their calendar because it's only going to benefit them in the end. It's not really about, like, it's inconvenient if your calendar's, they don't care about how I feel. It's going to help you stay organized. It's going to help you be more successful. So we talk about time blocking. And we just kind of go through the university. There's questions usually come up. So we really just dive into all of our platforms. We do a training with our CRM. I get them set up. We watch a video. And then I have them for homework, add people they know and text through our CM, call through our CM so they could see what it's like. So they're not freaking out the first time they go to text or call a stranger. So I get them get their little toes wet on some of our platforms. And then for day 5, it's a little bit more lax. Usually going over homework, I couldn't get in. I'm still locked down in this system. They have me. I'm available to get them all set up so they're ready to rock and roll on Monday. We then have our allied resources come in. Yes, Kajabi, Gary. We have allied resources come in. So we have our preferred mortgage lender and one of our preferred attorneys come in and actually meet them. Because it's one thing to be like, you should use our allied resources. They're overwhelmed by day 5, right? But if they get to actually meet them and sit across from them and have a beer and pizza, because we have happy hour afterwards, it just helps connect and make that relationship. And they can ask any question they want. And our allied resources end up staying for the happy hour and are talking to all of our agents, because our agents have so many questions. Like, what's the most common mistake we can make? Let's exchange phone numbers. Here's my Calendly link. So it's a great way for them to connect and be part of our culture. And then we also have a happy hour at the end of the week, because they've been sitting for 5 days listening to Joe and I just talk. It's a lot of information. We want to celebrate their 5 days. So usually get like pizza, beer, or wine, or like sandwiches delivered. Our allied resources are there. And then we also open that up to all team members if they want to come and meet the new team members. And I am floored every single month, because our team members show up. There's never been an onboarding where no team members showed up for happy hour. They've come, they've introduced themselves, and it just makes my heart so full that they come and drive, pay for parking, come up to the 4th floor and meet these new people. So we have the happy hour as well. And then they leave with a checklist. So I'm like, you need to do these things, or this is what you need to have done by like Monday or Tuesday at the latest. Because I think too, when you're getting all this information about, I got to remember this script, I got to log into here, I got to get on a coaching call, I've got to learn about Zillow. It's a lot. So we give them a little checklist of like, these are your next steps, just so that way they're not feeling a little overwhelmed. So that's day 4 and 5 with our onboarding.
So question for you guys, and I don't know if you want to, so you do it once a month, you do it on, is it like the first week of every month, or is it like verbatim?
It's typically like the 2nd or 3rd week in the month, depending if there's a holiday or if we already had other events lined up. But it's usually in the middle of the month, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay. So have you had any issues with agents who maybe they've come to you right after you've done one of those onboarding weeks, and then they have to wait a whole month to get into your next onboarding session? And has there been any issues with that? You know, because a lot of times they want to get up and they want to get going, right? Like they want to get moving pretty fast with stuff.
So far, we have not run into that issue. I don't think we've really lost anybody because we're like, oh, onboarding has already started. You'll have to wait till next month. Typically people are, still working a nighttime job, or they're getting ready to leave their job or their brokerage, or they're still have to take their state exam to get their license. But I think because when Joe meets with them initially and talks about, we do it once a month, it's not like it's a surprise. And he's like, okay, well, the next one is this date. And they can get started. Like we can accept them to the team still prior to, like if we're in the middle of onboarding, we can still take a new person for the following week, because I can get them started, right? Like I can get them, let's get you signed up with our brokerage. Let's get you logged into our university. Let's get you an email. So there are a lot of things I can do and knock out before we start. So they're starting to get plugged in, but it hasn't been a problem so far.
And do you guys have a good blend of newer agents and seasoned agents, or what does the avatar look for?
It's really
that?
It's really just new agents.
Yeah.
Have anyone ever seen the movie Boiler Room? Anybody? He says,
Anyone?
Hey, he says, hey, who here has their Series 7 license? Kid raises his hand. He says, cool, you can get out. And he says, why? He says, because we don't hire brokers, we train new ones. Real estate 3.0 and what we're doing is very, very different. If you've been in the real estate industry for 2+ years, in our experience, we've had bombs go. It just doesn't work, right?
Okay, so that makes sense as to why you can have agents that can start at certain spots, right?
Yeah. Like when Lauren was answering that question, they're just excited about the opportunity, right? And they're just psyched that like it just makes sense that we do one. Now, if we were last year, like the market's just different, right? We're in this like different weird market that we have to figure out every 3 to 4 months. Would everyone agree with that, right? Like 5 years, right? So like a year before the interest rates changed, like everyone was getting their real estate license and everyone was going to be a realtor, right? And so we had an onboarding with like 13 people, and we were like, that's when 100% we would just split it up into 2, and then we would do two. But the thing is, it's quality control. Brand new agents, man, if you don't do a deal in 90 days, well, you got to go. Like it's not going to work, right? And so we got to get them in, sort them out. Now, we're right now, we're talking to, we just haven't done it, man. We haven't brought over like, we call them legacy agents, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think legacies are awesome. You know what I mean? If you go to college and your kid goes to college, that person's a legacy, I'm not saying that as a negative thing, but we're talking to an agent right now that's in our market who did 28 million last year, and market-based pricing for Flex is going away for. I talked to two agents in that same exact position that like their market-based pricing is going away, and they called us and they're having a very hard time wrapping their head around the fact that we're not buying Zillow leads, right? We're aligning with Zillow, they're our partner, and we're like, basically the way we're on a 50-50 split on Flex leads after a referral fee. So like it's a 30-30-30 if you think about it, right? Like, dude, the platform gets 30%, the support, right? Lauren, your leverage is 30%, and then you make 30%. And then when an agent hears that, like that's been in the business for 2 or more years and they've closed 10 or more deals, their heads explode and they don't understand that business people, I'm willing to take a step back. Like I would make more money in production, but I'm taking a step back because I see the future of real estate and I'm building a business. Like I very easily could make way more money if I was just out there selling houses, right? But that's not what I chose to do because I don't think those people are going to survive.
Joe, as a business guy, so you said third, 30% each. What are you guys looking at from I don't know if you're willing to share this on this call, but of that 30% that you're keeping, how much are you actually keeping from a profit margin? Are you able to pay for all the leverage and the support and the systems?
Correct. Yeah. So you're talking about NOI?
Yeah. What's your profit margin on those Zillow the Zillow program specifically?
So the Zillow program specifically, it's really hard to be profitable, man. It's very, very hard to be profitable. So like, here's the thing. So as a business standpoint, Zillow Flex it's a building tool. It's a building tool. That's it, man.
It's a market share tool.
And it hasn't, the agent community hasn't realized what's happening with market-based pricing with Flex. No one gets it, dude. Like 2 years ago, we were calling the market-based priced agents who were like, hey man, things are changing. This is what's happening. They were like, you're crazy. Like no one wanted to hear it, man. Like everything's sweet. And it's still that way. I have some like Rain Man, Goodwill Hunting thing going on in my head with like, and I say EXP, but you could say real, right? Like I got love for you guys. Like I just said this before the call. Like if you're at one of the cloud-based brokerages, you're one of us. Like you get it. That's cool. We should be friends, right? Everybody else is a different story. But what's happening is last year there were 6 million sales in the United States. 4.5 million of those sales were registered users on Zillow.com. So if you want to talk about top of funnel, this is like turning into like a Zillow thing here. But like, that's an easy question. Like how profitable is it? Like, dude, talk to me in 5 years and talk to me in 5 years about how profitable this is and how many people I've brought in and gotten into production. And by the way, I earn revenue share on the back end. This morning I checked, I have 580 people in my group at EXP. And my phone is ringing about people who want to join my team. And that builds out your first line, right? Does that answer your question?
No, I get it. So how many agents did you say were on your team again?
So we have right now active agents are 32. We're constantly onboarding agents. We have 50 agents. So we've got 32 that are in production, and it takes a minute to get people like into production. So we're constantly bringing on new agents.
Yeah. So
go ahead. Go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think that like one of our biggest, the proudest spots in our business and one of our biggest pain spots in our business is Zillow Flex. Like we're number because in Denver there is only Flex. So there's 20 teams that have Flex in Denver. There's no market-based pricing. You can't even buy leads. And so we're number one in Denver at 160% to market. Most of the other teams are like hovering right around 100 to 110% maybe. We love Zillow, but we also hate it because it's not a profitable model. And so we're constantly like wrestling with like, how do we generate our own stuff? And so I guess the question is what are you doing outside of Zillow, if any? At this point, I understand the building tool. I understand the market share tool of it. But do you guys have other channels that you guys are working as well?
So right now we have, so I built a database, like I've been in the business for like 15 years, like a database. So like last week we listed 2 houses that were like my deals. We have a farm that we work and things like that. Agents on our team, on their sphere deals, they're on a 70-30. And on the team leads, they're on a 50-50. We're also using OpCity, we're using Ojo and Google Local Services.
GLS is amazing.
What's to get GLS working for you? Did you guys just have to pump a bunch of money into it?
Well, we had to increase our, like, you have to have a ton of Google reviews. You have to dominate your market in Google reviews. So
what's a ton of Google reviews? Is it like
400?
Okay.
Plus, I mean, if you were just to start Googling brokerages and real estate teams and agents in your market, like, you'll see people with 20 and 50 and 60 and 70. So a lot more than everybody else is a ton. And so we just campaigned it. Like, we were like, all right, team, this is what we need. And let's just start getting reviews like crazy. And so once we got to 400, it put us in like the top 5 of all real estate brokerages and teams in our market. What's that?
Once you got to what?
Like 400, it put us in like the top 5 category. I mean, there's a couple teams or brokerages that have like 500 plus, but anyway, that helps GLS work really well. And then we also hired a manager. We hired somebody that actually manages GLS specifically. And
is that a full-time person in your organization, or is that like
no, we found somebody out there, outsource, and that does something that focuses on that kind of stuff, and so that they kind of manage the profile to make sure it's hitting on all cylinders. But we didn't spend enough on it last year. We had a 3,400% ROI on GLS. 3,400% ROI. That's pretty good. Last time I checked.
Go ahead. And then how much are you spending per month on that?
Now we're spending, I think we're spending like 3,500, 4,000 or something like that.
Got it.
Last year we did not spend enough. I think we were spending like 1,000 a month.
When you say not enough, that just means you were just missing opportunity.
What's that?
You say you weren't spending enough. What makes you say that? Were you just missing opportunity?
No, I don't know. We didn't spend enough money on it. Like one of the big changes for my business last year to this year is I'm holding every single dollar accountable. So every one of my lead spend, I'm creating metrics on every, cost per click, cost per closing, revenue per closing, like every metric, so that I can actually tune the like I can see like my dashboard and go, all right, we need to slow this spend down and increase this spend up. I want to know every month what the ROI on every dollar we spend. And so that we know if we're getting enough leads, if we're converting at a high enough level. Because if I want to offset the power of Zillow, I have to actually become Zillow in my own way. Whether that's through Ojo or HomeLight.
Yeah, that's so true, man. You bring up such a good point with like, the flex thing is a building tool. It's not a profitability tool, right? It's definitely there. Like I feel the same way that you do. But yeah, we have callers, circle dialing, things like that. So we have other sources, but flex is our number one, because we got flex. And then we were like, by the way, we got flex. We were like a 3-4 person team. We were just doing like my database. Does that make sense? And like our farm, and that was it. And it was cool. It was profitable, whatever. And we got flex, and we were like, we shouldn't have gotten flex, man. We just got it. And we're like, oh my God, what do we do now? Like, it was like this thing, right? Like, I got a date with a pretty girl, and I'm like, oh my God, where do I take her? And so, and that's kind of what happened. So we stepped on it. We've only had it for about 2 years now, and we blew it for like the first 6 months. Like, we totally blew it, man. And then it turned and it became this thing, and we started recruiting, and it was wild, and we grew. And so now, we're very much just trying to figure it out, like I think like a lot of people are, like, we're very much trying to figure it out. And
well, the way I always describe Zillow is they are the train coming, and no one's going to stop them. And guess there's other trains too, and they're called Google and Amazon and Microsoft, and they're all coming, and we can't stop them. So for the old school realtors that are like, I hate Zillow and they're bad and they're changing our business. Well, your little attitude isn't going to change them. So why don't you just jump on the train and figure out how to leverage and milk everything you can from them, because they're coming either way. So the way I like to describe our industry is there's a van down by the river with a bunch of hardware parts in it. Then that's the local normal realtor. Then there's like, in our market, we have this hardware store called Jack's, and they have like 10 locations. They're everywhere. They really they're like a big box store, but it's local. It's like Denver local. And then there's Home Depot. I want to be Jack's. The van down by the river's hosed. I'll never buy fertilizer and lawnmowers at a rate and at a price that Home Depot can, because they can buy for 3,400 stores. I can only buy for 10. But I can provide a local service that Home Depot will never be able to, because I am in my community. I'm connected to my community. And so Zillow, I'm trying to figure out how to expand my footprint with Zillow. I'm trying to figure out how to expand my footprint with HomeLight. But I don't like the idea that if Zillow, I don't think they're going to do this, but if they wanted to, they could flip a switch and go, hey, we do have our brokerage in Denver, and we just decided to hire 80 agents and we don't need you anymore. Thanks, Jordan. And like, if that happened, I now have 10, 12 staff that I'm employing that I can't employ anymore. And so my whole game is how every time we close a deal with Zillow, how do we adopt that as our client? I don't care if they still search on Zillow, but they're talking to us specifically. And so it's all about the back end, the client care, what are we doing to make this a forever client? Recently I heard, because we talk about it as our past client program. And I recently felt like I was challenged to just stop calling them past clients, just calling them clients. Like, these are my clients. They're my clients. And so how do I serve my client community? Well, that is the big thing that we have to figure out, because Zillow's throwing, I mean, like last year, 30% of our business was Zillow. And that's great. And I would love it to keep it under 30%. But this year, all of a sudden, like, we're exploding and Zillow's like creeping up on that percentage. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I like that. I like the numbers from a transaction count. I don't know if I like the numbers from a profitability standpoint, right? So it's like, it's the game, and I'm trying to figure out, I don't have it all together here, but we're wrestling hardcore with this whole Zillow thing, because all I know is that we have 100 pending and closed with 20 agents in the first quarter, or I don't know, maybe 120, but which has us going to do more deals than we did last year, but doesn't mean our profitability is going up. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on like how to wrestle the giant.
So I think you just nailed it, man. It was funny. So Lauren and I were going over our numbers, and we're like, there's this thing where it's like, oh, our transactions doubled and this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, look at company dollar. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same, like, so like I like this. I like, Jordan, thanks for being vulnerable, man. This is cool. This has turned into like a really awesome conversation, like a real business conversation. That's awesome. Yeah. So for us, I was talking to someone the other day about this, and it was like, hey, it's just about having ISAs and calling and working the database. And then what you were just saying is just what Zillow can do is they own top of funnel. They have the eyes, right? If we can capture them and keep them in, and then work the clients with the referrals, right? Like, the really cool thing that's happening is that the deals are coming in, and my agents are like getting referrals from the Zillow leads, right? Like, hey, my mom needs to sell her house. Like, that is happening, which is really, really awesome.
So Jordan, you guys use Client Giant, right?
We did. We fired Client Giant.
What are you using as far as client follow-up then? Just to kind of get those.
We are building a system right now. So Client Giant's great when the fish are jumping in the boat and we're just selling so many houses that we don't even know what to do with all the money we're making. When the market's a little tighter and we have to be more strategic, Client Giant's just expensive. It's a great tool. But I have to argue I can do more with that dollar if I just build a system around it. So here's the latest and greatest idea that we're talking about, and it's not built yet, but it's being built, is we do so much work on the front end to get a client, right? We work on our scripts, and we are objection handlers and all these little things, and we have the buyer consultation or the listing consultation, but then we close and we don't do anything. So I'm wanting to build a closing consultation somewhere at the closing table. The escrow officer, whoever, I don't know what it's like in everyone's state, but everyone leaves and we're still at the table. There should be a conversation that happens there that turns them into a active client to just a client. And there's some transition that happens. And I believe it's a conversation, it's a form, it's a landing page, or it's something that we walk them through where we collect reviews, we collect feedback for improvement for our team, for our transaction managers or whoever. We explain our client community and experience from here. This is what it's like from here. Like, we're not going away. And this is where we explain our vendor community. If you need anything, we have it covered. If you need this, if you need landscaping, if you need paint, whatever, we have it all covered. Here's all our different programs. Here's the ways we can serve you. Oh, and join our client community on Facebook. Here's the QR code. Join now. Pull out your phone, scan it. And oh, by the way, here's a gift. And I'm going to be sending you some communication, and we enter them into our campaign, if you will. So I'm just trying to figure that out. Like, what does it look like? How do our agents enter them into this next phase? Because a lot of times everyone closes, gets checks, and then everybody leaves, and that's it. And it's like, we just hope they call, but they won't, because we're so focused on the front end. But we have to get focused on the back end, because that's the cheapest lead you'll ever get, is the ones that you actually helped and did a great job with, and they refer you.
Yeah, and those are the ones you want to work with. You're excited to talk to again. So one thing I did really well is I just did client. I would, beginning of the year, I'd set up client events, breakfast with Santa, we do a food drive, we do movie night or whatever. And then I would just, every quarter, I would just call my database. It sounds insane, right? Like, you told a realtor to call their database, they'd lose their minds probably. And all I did, and if I didn't get them, I just invited them to something, and it killed. And I cannot get my agent. I'll never get an agent to do it, man. Does anybody's agent?
So that's the part that's, we could sit here and say, well, we can do this and we have these big ideas, but I think it's moving the masses and doing that stuff too, to keep the system flowing. The other thing here is, in California, we don't have a closing table where we sit down. It's okay, we just wait for it to record. The agent goes and meets, those kind of things. So it would be great to be able to control that. I'm taking notes, Jordan. I'm looking at Liv going, website, let's build a website.
I know. I'm waiting for the Slack to come in, landing page.
I also you have to think about the client. Once they get the keys, they're not thinking about you unless you're somehow involved. Meaning,
and the thing too is,
unless you have an unpacking service. Hey, we have an unpacking service, or a moving service, and that's how we stay in the door. But a lot of times our back doors are so wide that we lose them. We need to build a fence to keep them in the backyard. Somehow we have to stay engaged. And this Zillow thing and all the lead sources thing, which is what you have to do to build a team. You can't build a team without leads. It's impossible to take a new agent and get them productive and make the team profitable without having some kind of thing that speeds that process up. But how do we keep the people? Because there's a team, in fact, they're going to be on here in a few weeks. The Griffith home team, they're here in Denver. They're our biggest competitor, and they're some of my best friends. And they're a 10-year-old team. 7 years ago, they were 70% lead generation, and they've matured, and they focused heavily on their past clients. And now they're 70% referral. So as the team has matured, their profitability has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. And so they just do tons of events, but they sell tons of houses because they've just taken really good care of all those leads that they close from Zillow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like I said, that the thing is to do that at scale when you have larger teams. I think that's where sometimes we run into, because I think when you have five-ish agents or whatever, you can you can kind of rally everyone together. But when you start to have more, it's like, how can we do this so that they will be doing this stuff, or we can do it for them so that this stuff will be happening? So that's the part where I always go, okay, great, that's a good idea. How can we make this scale? Like, how can we make this so that it's always working all the time? The lights always go on and off, right? At a certain time of the day, it always happens. So that's where my brain lives with those kind of things. Because I agree, like we are so heavy on referral partners. We have Zillow, we have Rocket, we have Veterans United, we have Homelight, you name it, we've got it. And so obviously they all want their cut too. Rocket, by the way, now is wanting 50%. I don't know if anybody's on Rocket Homes, but that's a fun one that's about to release. So when you have like a team, yeah, right?
What percentage is it?
That Rocket Mortgage?
50.
What is it?
Yes.
50.
50% referral fee?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like, so what?
Yes.
What George
Okay, so that's the question, Joe. Like,
Well,
what
so they
happens-
do it. Will others start to do that?
Yeah. So,
Right?
so what
when
happens
Zillow
when
does that,
Zillow?
it's gonna work at Target or whatever. But fine.
Zillow is, I would say we're really close to getting an email from Zillow saying it's just jumped from 35% to 45%. And like, as
Yeah.
this continues to happen, we need to make sure we own our businesses, like, and that we're not renting them for Zillow. Like I can go rent a bunch of houses and sublease them for a higher price and make some money. But what happens if the market turns and I can't demand that higher rent anymore? And now I'm stuck in all these leases. So like, this is the thing that I'm thinking about. I like Zillow and I like all this stuff, but I have to leverage it to build the back end.
So that's where,
Mhm.
yeah, we've changed our entire business structure in the last year. That's two things that we need to lean into. Google Local Services, you're like, we're not like we're not dominating it at all on that. Can I reach out to you directly to talk a little bit more on that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You guys,
Sure.
there's
Hey, we
another
have
one too. You know, Apple just rolled out theirs too. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but there's
Apple?
a Apple service.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Mhm.
For
For business. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I mean, amazing conversation. Thanks for both of you for being so open about what you're sharing. But you started to touch on my fear with Zillow and with the other aggregators, that I think this is a super high level conversation and you guys are very smart guys. My fear is that Zillow had a conference room 3 years ago with 50 guys just as smart as you, and they've already got the next move figured out. So as soon as we figure out how, you've got it. The key to making this work when you're doing a little better than break even on these leads is capturing the referrals and keeping the lifelong customer and getting the next deal out of them. But Zillow already knows that. So what Zillow going to do to capitalize on the next transaction, and what Zillow going to do to keep these people as a lifelong Zillow customer, that's going to make it even harder? Because I think Zillow is going to keep squeezing these leads as long as it makes it just profitable enough for us to agree to work with them.
Well, I think it's all going to come down to human connection and service. They are always going to be bigger, better, and stronger, and have more push, and can make better deals, and have smaller margins, and all the things. But they can't do the human connection and service, and they never will, and they can't. And anyone that thinks that they care more about that they care about the agent is silly, because all they care about is their shareholders. Like that's their job.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what they should care about.
And so the same reason why their iBuyer program couldn't work is because of human connection and local service. That's why they lost. That's why Open Door is running on SoftBank's fumes, right? And they're trying to figure it out, but they'll never localize it at a human level. So we have to be the human connection, where there's like, we care, we're hearts, like people, friendly, connected. They can't do that, in my opinion, unless they roll out a brokerage. I think the big thing with Zillow and these other guys is they're realizing there's more money in the lending business, so that now they have ZHL and they're going, wow, we're making a lot more money here. So it's interesting. And I think your point, Mark, it's really smart. They're sitting around asking the same questions, and they have like PhDs and stuff. So that sucks.
Yeah.
I went to community college in LA.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, AI is going to generate, and AI is going to do a prospecting for us. They can pretty much do everything except for meet the person, and they're gonna need us for that. But dude, they're gonna take a cut for the introduction, man, because they have the consumer's eyes. But I have a 9 o'clock. I think this is an hour, correct?
Yeah, we're just getting ready to wrap up here.
Are we
Yep.
cool, man.
Real quick, can I just give a shout out? I've got to say, man, the decks in the back, the Bronx descendants,
I know.
like that's my people.
Oh yeah.
The deck on the back right is
It's
cool.
good to know that this people is in this business.
Wait, I'm confused, Joe. Are you in Jersey Shore or are you in Laguna?
Yeah, so I live in San Juan Capistrano, which is in Orange County, California, and we sell houses in New Jersey at the Jersey Shore. So I run it remote. I'm not there.
Right?
When we talk, can you tell me how I can live in like Bora Bora and do
Yeah.
this? That sounds way cooler.
Are you in production or are you out of production?
I'm out of production.
Yeah, so you can do it right now. You can do it right now.
I'm in
Uh-oh.
California.
Jordan's like, I'm out of here.
I'll get you guys linked
No.
up. I'll get you guys together.
The only challenge is, yeah,
All
so I was in Hawaii for like 3 weeks and it was like the time change was brutal. So you got to stay somewhere where the time change kind of aligned. But yeah, I'm going to connect with you if you don't mind. I'd love to talk some more. You're a smart guy. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, guys. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you both for coming on. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you, Joe. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lauren.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Guys, that was great.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.